Hi, Julie Jones from SSB Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week, brought to you by Game Day Sportswear, shopgameday.net, and by On Point Pest Control. If you need pest control supplies or if you need any athletic supplies, check both of these companies out. They can send anything you need all over the country, and you're going to be dealing with great people. Shout out to my Portland State Vikings. I'm getting ready to get on a call with them. So this is the gear. It's dressed like a Viking day in Akron, apparently. But I'm glad you're with me today because this might be the most important message you hear all week. And I hope that you will listen until the end and go to my website and click on the link about the story that I'm about to share with you. Last week I got an email from the father of a young athlete who used to come to our camps years ago at Cleveland State. She's now 32 years old, and she's in the fight of her life. And her story, although heart-wrenching, it can help us all remember to use our voice and to be persistent. And today is a great day to share this because it coincides so well with the message of Dr. Martin Luther King. Both Catherine Peters, who is a 32-year-old mother of a 2-year-old son who is now fighting stage 4 colon cancer, and Dr. King persisted when no one was listening. They persisted when no one was listening. And that's the message today. We have to be persistent, and we have to use our voice when we know that something is right. We have to use our voice when we know something's right for ourselves, in our own, trusting our own abilities, and we have to use our voice when we know that something can make a difference for our lives or for the lives of others. And being Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I have to tell the story that I tell every year about how a conversation changed my view and changed my world view of civil rights. When I was in graduate school, I shared an office with Dr. Patricia Hill. We were classmates. She was 20 years older than I was, and she's a black woman. And when she was young, she would go visit her family in the South, and every time she went there, she had to drink from a colored water fountain. When she told me this story, I was furious, I was sad, I was embarrassed, but I was changed. And it reminded me of how long some messages take to get through. Whether it's the voices in our head that are trying to get us where we want to go, that good voice in our head, or the good voices that we're using outward to get us places and to change the world. Then I read an article yesterday about Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and you would not believe, or I could not believe, that it took until the year 2000 for all 50 states to acknowledge and celebrate MLK Jr. Day. The Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1863 by Abraham Lincoln. And in the early 1960s, Martin Luther King took that equality message and tried to move it forward. Think about the time in between those two years. And then think about the time between 1965 and 2000 when the whole country finally got on board. And you know how they got on board? Stevie Wonder persisted in his message to honor the fight and the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. It takes persistence, it takes a message, and it takes time. Even when it's not fair, it takes time. Back to Catherine Peters. She was pregnant, she was in pain, she was talking to her doctors, and they didn't listen. After she had, pregnancy is hard, they said. Pregnancy is painful, they said. Read her story. Find the link at ssbperformance.com/blog in today's tip. And please read her story and share it because her goal, like Dr. King's, is to change the world. Even if it changes one person, she says, if it gets one young woman or young man to talk long and hard about what they know so that they can be more well, she has made a difference in this world. So please read her story and share it. But her story, as I continue, she was in pain and she was pregnant. And they had all these excuses for why she was in such pain. And then after she had her son, she was still in pain. And now it's postpartum stuff and all the excuses for why she was still in such pain. Until finally they found out that she had stage 4 colon cancer. The chances of that are really low. I can understand that. I had a 0.25% chance of having breast cancer at about the same age. And I've heard this story before. One of my players, Anna Hubert, her mother, Anna Conscious now, her mother was telling her doctor that her back hurt and her back hurt and her back hurt. Her breast cancer had metastasized. And finally her doctor said, Anita, you were talking, but I wasn't listening. Sometimes things take time and we have to be persistent. Think about what would have happened if Dr. King would have given up his message at the first sign of struggle, or he would have given it up because somebody didn't listen. Think about it. If Catherine would have given up her fight, she wouldn't be with her son today. But my question to you is, how many times have you stopped because you came up against opposition? How many times have you let people that you think know more than you about the situation have you stop? How many times have you quieted yourself because you didn't have the guts to keep on going, or the courage, or you haven't built your evidence journal, or you aren't following those facts that you know are there? How many times? And what has that changed in your life? Todd Peter, Catherine's dad, wanted me to share this story, and I hope that you will read it, because Catherine's message is the same as Dr. King's, that our voice is important. Everyone's voice is important. And if we can take things down to the brass tacks and talk about the facts, and we keep banging them for good, we have to keep talking until people listen. If they would have stopped when people weren't listening, neither of their messages would get out. It takes courage. It takes confidence. And how do we get confidence? We sit down and we lay out the facts. This is how I feel. This is what I know. This is what equality looks like. This is what pain looks like. Whatever the message is, it's going with fact and then allowing ourselves to continue regardless of the emotion that we feel when people put a wall up in front of us and say, no, thank you. I know better. You can be quiet now. So, I'd like you to think about the times you have gone against what you know is true because someone else thought something different. I'd like you to think about how you can help the people you lead learn to use their voice for good. We need champions of fact. We need voices of good. And that doesn't mean that we go out and shout half-truths, but there are certain things that we know are important. And we have a tendency to sit back and think that somebody else will take care of it. Well, I'm encouraging persistence, because the other thing that both of these messages tell us is that sometimes things take time, even if it's not fair. Pat still had to drink out of a colored water fountain. Dr. King had to walk and walk and walk and talk and talk and talk. And even still, until year 2000, other people didn't really want to hear it. And some people still don't hear it, but that's okay, because enough people have heard it and it's changed enough lives that we can continue to fight. So here's to all of the persisters. Here's to Catherine Peter, who shares a message of listen to yourself, trust yourself. How many times has your performance changed because you didn't trust that you could meet and face what was ahead of you with the facts that you have built up through persistence and practice and just hard work doing? We talk ourselves out of a lot of things. And Catherine's message to us is, don't let other people talk you about things that you know are true. And Dr. King's message is, keep pushing, because things take time. So we want to celebrate Dr. King today, and I celebrate Catherine today. And I hope that you will take the time to listen to her message or read her message. She wrote a great blog about my mom friends aren't dying, but I am. And we pray for her and her family. We pray for strength and her persistence, because miracles happen and good things happen, even in the midst of struggle. So here's to you, Catherine. Here's to you, Todd. Here's to you, fighters for civil rights and for justice in every way. Let's persist. because nothing happens without courage and a voice that's willing to go even when nobody wants to hear. Have a great week. Celebrate today. Celebrate your health and your good things and all the good things that other people's voices have done for you. And share Catherine's so that you can help those you lead too. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.